For your math warm-up today, I would like you to take a look at the first decimal, and I would like you to round that to the nearest whole number. So go ahead and pause your video and write that on a sheet of paper if you'd like, or a dry erase board, and come back when you're finished. So 87 3/10 rounded to the nearest whole number would be 87. Let's take a look at number 2. For this decimal, I would like you to round to the nearest tenth. So go ahead and pause your video and do that now, please. 99 12/100 rounded to the nearest tenth would be 99 1/10. Let's take a look at number 3. We have 7 15/100. I'd like you to round that to the nearest tenth. Go ahead and pause your video. Do that now, please. That should have been rounded to 7 2/10. For our last one, number 4, I'd like you to take that decimal and round to the nearest hundredth. Go ahead and pause your video and do that now, please. When we round 882 186 thousandths to the nearest hundredth, it would be 882 19 hundredths. How'd you do? For our math message today, I'd like you to take out your student math journal and you're going to open up to page 169 and complete problems 1 and 2. Pause your video, complete both of those, and come back when you have finished to see how you did. So let's take a look at the first problem with our in and out table. And you'll notice, which I'm sure that you did when you went to go do this in your workbook, that our rule is times 1/5. So when we look at the first one, 15 times 1/5. Well, you might or might not know how to complete that problem. So you might have been thinking, well, I could take 1/5 and I could add it 15 times, and that would give me the correct answer. So it takes 5 1/5 to make one whole, and 15 1/5 is 3 sets of 5. So our answer would be 3. We could also think about our fraction of problems. So when we think of fraction of, normally we could say 15 times 1/5, and that's the same as 1/5 times 15, or 1/5 of 15, which we've done previously. We could draw circles, and we could separate them into 5 equal groups. And there would be 3 circles in each group. So that means 1/5 of 15 is 3. So again, we can think about these problems as flipping them around, because with multiplication problems, we can turn them around and we still get the same answer. So for example, instead of this being 15 times 1/5, we could turn it around and say 1/5 times 15, or 1/5 of 15. So these are answers that you should have gotten for this problem in your workbook. So 15 times 1/5 would give us 3. 20 times 1/5 would give us 4. 35 times 1/5 would give us 7, and 10 times 1/5 would give us 2. So another way to think about that would be, if you set up the problem 15 times 1/5. We're going to pretend that this is 15 over 1. So you multiply 15 times 1 on the top, you get 15. And then you multiply 1 times 5 on the bottom, and you get 5. Well, 15 divided by 5, which is our fraction, 15/5, is 3. So does that work with each of our problems? 20 divided by 5 for that second one is what we would end up getting, 20/5 equals 4. 35 divided by 5 equals 7. 10 divided by 5 equals 2. So it does work to use that particular method. So let's take a look at number 2, and let's see what you've got there. So for this particular in and out table, we've got a rule of divide by 5. So 15 divided by 5 gives us 3. 20 divided by 5 gives us 4. 35 divided by 5 gives us 7. And 10 divided by 5 gives us 2. So hopefully that is starting to make a little bit more sense to you. Divide by 5, that rule should be pretty clear cut. However, the first one was a little bit more complicated. So that's probably going to take some practice. So our lesson today is multiplication of fractions and whole numbers. So why are we learning about this? Well, first of all, it is a real life, real world application. So we have fractions, we have whole numbers, we need to multiply in real life. So this is a strategy or a skill that will help you in a lot of different career paths. So let's take a look at how we're going to do it. We're going to think about our fraction of strategy that we've used in the past. And we are also going to interpret the fraction as a division problem. That's going to help us think our way through some of these problems. So this first problem, we have 15 times 3/5. So what we want to think about is what's 1/5 of 15. So in order to do 1/5 of 15, I would draw 5 circles, and then I would place 3 X's in each one, and then 3 times 5 equals 15. So 1/5 of 15 is equal to 3. But our fraction is 3/5, so we would have to do that 3 times. So what we would think about then is 3 times 3 gives us 9. So 15 times 3/5 is going to be 9 if we think of it like 3/5 of 15. So we were turning that around, thinking about fraction of instead of just trying to flat out multiply for that one. So if we take a look at 12 times 3/4, again, we want to think of what's 1/4 of 12. So we would draw 4 circles because our denominator is 4. And then we would count out 12 total X's that we would place in those circles. So I've got 2, 4, 6, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So 1/4 of 12 is equal to 3, and the fact that our numerator in the fraction is 3. So we want 3/4, not 1/4. So we're going to take this times 3, which equals 9. So 12 times 3/4 is also equal to 9. So we're going to take these same two problems that we just practiced with the fraction of method, and now we're going to think division. So again, same problems, different strategy. So we have 15 times 3/5. Well, we want to think about that as 3 divided by 5. So multiplying by 3/5 will give the same result as multiplying by 3 and then dividing by 5. So I want you to think about that for a minute. So for this first one, we are thinking 3 divided by 5 for that fraction 3/5. So it might help to set it up like this to kind of get you to think your way through that. And what you're going to do is you're going to first multiply the 15 times the 3, which is what you have as far as numerators go. So 15 times 3 would be what? Okay, you can see that I worked that out off to the side just to double check myself. So 15 times 3 equals 45, and then the 1 times 5 on the bottom. So you're basically going to think 45/5 is the same as 45 divided by 5, which then gives us 9. So 15 times 3/5 is equal to 9 because we're thinking division. So now let's take a look at that second problem on the right side there. We have 12 times 3/4. Again, we want to think of that fraction as a division problem. Think of it as 3 divided by 4. So if we set it up and put 12 over 1 times 3/4. We're going to multiply our numerators first. So 12 times 3 is 36. And then 1 times 4 is 4. And again, we're thinking division. So that's going to be 36 divided by 4, which is equal to 9. So 12 times 3/4 equals 9. So let's summarize what we've done here today. We learned that multiplying fractions and whole numbers is like doing fraction of problems, depending on which strategy that you pick. We also learned that we can think about the fractions as division problems, and again, that helps us with a strategy to solve those multiplication problems. So hang in there. It'll take some practice and you'll be great. Until next time, bye for now.